have a debate. Let's have a debate in Eagle Pass, Texas, and solve for the American people the one thing we all can see with our own eyes. The left want an open, insecure border. The conservatives and common sense independents, we want a secure America, which means you have to control your back door. So that was Senator Tim Scott, who, after voting against the bipartisan border bill to secure the southern border, claims that it is the Democrats who don't want to secure the border. Now, for those of you who don't remember, here's what the Republican, Trump-loving Border Patrol chief had to say about the most recent border bill.
The National Border Patrol Council is backing this border bill. In a statement to Fox, Brandon Judd, the president of the Border Patrol Union, says the Border Act will codify it into law, authorities that Border Patrol agents never had in the past. This will allow us to remove single adults expeditiously and without a lengthy judicial review. While not perfect, the Border Act of 2024 is a step in the right direction and is far better than the status quo.
And here's what Fox News' chief political analyst, Britt Hume, also a Trump-supporting Republican, had to say about the border bill.
Think of what the Republicans are doing, for example, Kevin, on the border issue. They said that they wouldn't pass aid to Ukraine and other places unless there was action on the border. So the Senate produced a bill negotiated by one of its most conservative Republican members on the border, which had some defects in it, as compromise measures always do. And it was nonetheless the strongest border protection bill that I've seen in my time in Washington. And the House simply announced it was not going to take it up, so it failed even in the Senate.
Now, Chris Murphy, a Democrat in the Senate, is having absolutely none of it. He sounded off today calling bullshit literally on multiple Republican senators on social media. Here's what he had to say in response to Tim Scott's claim that Republicans want to secure the border while Democrats want an open border. Bullshit. We reached a bipartisan compromise to give the president enormous new powers to control the border. Almost every single Republican, including Senator Scott, voted against it because Trump told them to keep the border a mess because it might help him politically. Now, Senator Murphy did not just stop there. He then went after Senator Ron Johnson, who went on television this morning to say this about the bipartisan border bill that he subsequently voted against.
Can you respond to that criticism of people saying, Democrats saying Republicans wanted this and we gave it to them and then said no?
We didn't want an immigration bill. We wanted something to force Biden to use the authority he has to actually secure the border. To the extent he needed some of that authority strengthened, we were happy to do that. That bill was an immigration bill. It was worse than doing nothing. It codified an awful lot of President Biden's open border policies. By and large, would have normalized thousands of people entering this country a year illegally without valid asylum claims. So, I mean, it was an awful, awful bill. I mean, people like me complaining about it didn't kill that bill. That bill killed itself. It gave Democrats cover. I mean, it was the stupidest thing to negotiate. That was Leader McConnell that masterminded that debacle. But all we ever asked for in conference was the fact that we knew that President Biden is lawless. He doesn't agree. He doesn't follow Supreme Court rulings. There's no way we could rely on him on carrying out any agreement we reached. So we were looking for a forcing mechanism. I suggested just tying Ukraine funding to actual border metrics, like we do in business all the time, performance metrics. That, even though we talked about that repeatedly in conference, there's a great deal of support with Republican senators. McConnell, without telling anybody, just conveyed to James Langford, that's not even on the table. So again, we didn't have leverage. I mean, it was the stupidest negotiation done in secret. This is something the public demands. If they want a secure border, that bill would not have secured the border. Again, it would have codified Biden's open border policy that is facilitating right now the multi-billion-dollar business model of some of the most evil people on the planet, the drug, the human, the sex traffickers. We actually need to secure the border, and that's what we're looking for now.
Murphy responded to that clip directly on Twitter saying, quote, bullshit. The bipartisan border bill that Senator Johnson's party asked for and then voted against because Trump said so would have allowed the president to secure the border. And then Senator Murphy sounded off again, this time going after Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, who said, quote, Even Secretary Mayorkas has said what's happening at the southern border is certainly a crisis. It's past time that the Biden administration put a stop to this madness. Close the border. And to that, Senator Murphy responded, also bullshit. Senator Blackburn knows that the bill would have actually allowed the president to close parts of the border when crossings get too high. But who would book Republicans on cable news if the border was actually under control? That's why they killed it. And Senator Murphy is absolutely right. The Border Patrol chief is absolutely right. And Fox News' chief political analyst, Brit Hume, is absolutely right. The Republican Party has no interest in securing the border. They want to let this crisis fester so that they can run on it again in 2024, just like they did in 2016 and 2020. Now they're playing this remarkable game of political theater that they hope you won't recognize, where they continue to kill border bills, then claim that it is the Democrats who aren't serious about protecting the border. First, you remember they said that the foreign aid bill to secure funding for Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel needed a border provision to help secure the border. So Republicans in the Senate came to a bipartisan deal with Democrats in the Senate to secure the border. Then what happened? Senate Republicans killed the bill and demanded that the foreign aid package be set aside and voted on separately. Then Republicans and Democrats in the Senate came together again to pass the standalone foreign aid bill for Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel. And Republicans in both chambers of Congress said, you know what, we can't vote for this bill because it doesn't have a provision in it to secure the border. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. The Republican Party is not serious about governing at all. What they are serious about is running on chaos. They want Trump to be able to run on the border again. His whole shtick is chaos. So if Democrats and Republicans actually come together and do their job, he feels like this is somehow a political blow to his campaign. But as Tom Suozzi's election in New York shows us, where he flipped George Santos's seat blue just a week ago, not every Republican is buying into this nonsense. They can, in fact, see and hear what is happening. They see that it is the Republicans, not the Democrats, who are not serious about securing the border. And that's why you had Republican voters actually switch to voting Democrat in that election. They want a Congress and a government that's actually serious about solving the problems in this country and the problem at the border that Republicans claim is such a pressing national security issue.
I talked to two voters today who voted for Donald Trump in 2016, turned around and voted for the Democrats in this race, voted for Tom Suozzi because they said his message on bipartisanship and the fact that House Republicans have really struggled to pass legislation over the last couple of weeks impacted the way they were looking at this race. And if you're a Democrat running in these swing districts, running in a suburban district, that's the kind of message, that's the kind of playbook that you want to emulate in November.
So we'll see if this strategy actually pays off in November. We'll see if Republican voters aren't able to see through this blatant obstruction and dereliction of their duty to govern by pretending they are serious about the border while simultaneously refusing to do anything about it. But if Tom Suozzi's election is any indication of things to come, not everyone is so easily fooled by this blatantly obvious strategy to create chaos and then run on stopping the chaos. With Really American, I'm Justin Horwitz. Please do us a huge favor, like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a ton planned going forward into the election, and we can't do it without you. Thanks.